We'll be live in 3, 2, and 1.
Hello everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Forge D20's campaign Thrones. I'm once again your DM Hunter, accompanied by my best friend and co-host Zach, and we're very excited to continue our adventure today. Last we left off, the party, Daedallus and Alastair, had left the Dwarven excavation site. One part of the party, that being Alastair, petrified, along with who they found out shortly after was Cornelius, their quarry, who they were sent to find. They returned to Findalen and were able to, thankfully, because Nibbin had an elixir for this, fortunately enough, they were able to begin the unpetrification process of both him and Cornelius. Upon this, they were given their reward from Nibbin and told that when the time comes, if they need to get into the city of Waterdeep, Nibbin can make it so and put them in contact with people that they may be interested in speaking with. He also paid them a nice and hefty sum of, I believe it was 20 platinum, 24 platinum, something like that. And in addition to a various sum of gold, silver, and copper. Something nice to top off the coffers of the Darkheart and Daedalus campaign here. Other than that, before the end of the episode, Alastair was accosted and haunted in the night. He was unable to sleep and could not even enter a basic trance that would give him and his half-elven descendancy a night's worth of rest. No, instead he heard these whispers, voices speaking to him. And in the middle of the night, Daedalus heard something calling to Alastair, and Alastair calling out back to it, fighting back. It seemed like he was in distress. Daedalus went to check, and upon opening the curtain of the tent, was met with the end of Alastair's rapier. Alastair managed to compose himself just in time before killing Daedalus. Thankfully, Alastair lowered his blade, and the two of them have come to a terms. Alastair understands that something is wrong, and Daedalus understands that he may be in danger. They've agreed to continue on, talk about it more as the time goes, for they have a mission. They've arrived at Gnomengarde, which is where we will pick up. The two heroes have been sent here to establish a contact between the Lord's Alliance, well, not the Lord's Alliance, forgive me, Findalen and its people, particularly that of the Maester, with the kings of Gnomengarde. If there can be some form of alliance or some form of communication perhaps established between the two, they can establish a better defense in case the dragon decides to rear its ugly head upon this part of the Storm Coast. But in order to do so, there will be some obstacles. Gnomengarde is not as peaceful as it seems upon entrance. There are things going on that would consider bizarre and horrific. And so we'll pick up from there. You and Daedalus follow a stream uphill to the base of the mountain, where waterfall erosion has carved out a natural concavity. The roaring waterfall creates a cloud of mist as it plunges into a shallow pool of water before you, within which rise two small islands covered with 2-foot-tall red, green, and purple mushrooms. Several cave openings overlook this pool from rocky ledges 20 to 30 feet above. The mountain blocks any sunlight from reaching this place. This is the entrance to Gnomengarde. What do you do?
Alastair is going to continue marching forward and kind of look around and see if there's any creatures wandering around.
Very well. Walking alongside you, the two of you make your way into the presumed borders of Gnomengarde proper. And as you're walking, you do catch a glimpse of someone kind of overlooking the area. As you approach the sort of western side of this stream in the bank of this small lake, see a gnome before you. Small in their stature, of course, as with any gnome. As he looks down at you curiously, this gnome, he has raven-colored hair, and, of course, the prototypical long pointed ears of gnomes and the barely 2-foot-tall stature. Curiously, this young-faced gnome looks down and notices the approach of us. Hello, I haven't seen you around here before. Who are you?
Greetings, my name is Alastair Darkheart. I'm actually here to speak with whoever leads over your people. I have some dire news to deliver to them.
And who are you? I am Daedallus. You need to speak to the leaders of Gnomengarde. Yes, I am Karmit, a simple guard here, but unfortunately our kings are sealed away within their chambers. For you see, in the last 10 days, 2 of our fellow gnomes, Orin and Warren, they disappeared. You see him gulp, devoured. For you see, there's he kind of like looks around, and you see him kind of look at even inanimate objects. You see him look at a barrel next to him, and he kind of reaches out and pokes it with his finger, and he leans towards us a little bit, even though he's a fair distance away. There's a mimic here. They don't want it getting out to mass panic to everyone, but the other gods and myself know. Orn and Warren were devoured. The kings know, and that's why they've sealed themselves away. Our king has lost his mind, though. He won't let either of them leave, and they fear that everyone is the monster. You could go try to speak with them, but be careful.
Alistair's gonna rub his chin for a moment and turn to Daedalus. I know not much about mimics. Have you come across any in your travels, Daedalus?
See, Daedalus kind of raises his scaled eyebrow and looks at you. I have not had the pleasure of encountering a mimic, thankfully. But I do know that these mimics can be aggressive when it comes to feeding. They are hungry creatures, and they will eat whatever comes closest. If there is indeed a mimic here, it could be around any corner, and it could be any object. Typically, they pick things like chests or doors, but I have not encountered one. They are extremely dangerous.
Interesting. And could they also technically become a person as well? Do you know if that's a possibility?
Daedalus slowly turns his full face towards you, and then tilts as you say that. No, I had not thought of that. Why would you say that?
Well, mimic, verbatim, pretty much means to copy. So I would at least guess it would try to copy anything. See, it could be even our literal Gnomengarde friend up here, and he's gonna walk closer, as close as he can. I don't know how high up the gnome is, but
20 feet up.
Alistair, do you mind if I climb up there? He's gonna talk to the guard.
You see him kind of hesitate for a second. He looks at his clothes, and he pulls his shirt forward. He taps himself on his body. Am I the mimic? Am I the mimic? And he goes, no, surely not. No, I would know if I was the mimic. I would know this. Yes, you can come up here. There's a ladder, though. And he, pushes down this rope ladder that kind of slowly furls down to you. This way. You see Daedalus begins to approach as well. We've handled worse. If we can handle a troll, I'm certain we can handle a mimic.
Oh, most certainly. And Alastair's going to begin climbing the ladder and get close to their new Gnomen acquaintance and see if he tries to, like, eat him or anything.
Alistair, as you crest the top of this sort of cave wall this ladder is attached to, as you climb about 20 feet up, you get another overlook. You see the glowing green, red, and purple mushrooms on those small islands. You get a better look at our gnomish friend here. He's pretty young looking for a gnome. He's a guard, and you can see he's got some light armor on him, and he's got a small dagger, but he's not menacing in any way or intimidating. And you get up there, and he looks at you, and he's a fair distance away. He's keeping you a good arm's distance away from him. You know, like he's got some distance, so that God forbid you're the mimic, he can get away from you. He looks at you as you get up there. That's close enough. I'll walk a good, I don't know. And he takes like 3 or 4 paces further back. About this far, and you can follow behind me. Surely both of you can't be mimics, but just in case.
Well, I think if we were
I'll
mimics, we would have,
take-
have already been here. We wouldn't have come from the outside, right?
He stops and he turns around as he's walking ahead. You make logical sense, Alastair. That is your name, correct?
Yes.
Perhaps I can trust you, but be careful. Anything could be the mimic. And you see him, he holds the dagger out in front of him, and he kind of pokes like the bookcase that's next to him as he's walking in the hallway. Well, that's not the mimic, but anything could be. This way. He walks us down the hall towards the king's chambers. And as we reach the chambers, you can hear a faint kind of voices emanating from the other side of the door. Maybe raised voices, perhaps arguing. Can't quite tell what they're talking about, but you hear 2 distinctly different gnomish voices, one being a little bit deeper than the other. And as you approach, Karamip stops, and he says, well, this is as far as I can take you, because they won't let anyone in, but I'll be back over at the entrance, doing my watch. Do be careful, and if you find the mimic, please kill it. Please. I beg of you. And he kind of walks around and heads off to where he was, just walking beneath Daedallus and your legs. Daedalus kind of looks beneath him as he just walks between his legs underneath him and then past you. Daedalus looks at you. Gnomes. Are they all like that? So weird.
I don't know, but they're smaller in person. I've read about gnomes, but I've never seen one before. Quite interesting. I didn't think they would be that short.
Daedalus looks at you. We have met a gnome.
Oh, wait. Yeah, that's right.
Perhaps it's because Nibbin sits on that pillow.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to tell a height differential when he's floating in midair, I guess, and also sitting the entire time.
True. Looking us in the eye. That is quite a different sight. You see Daedalus kind of stops for a second. He listens to the voices beyond the door. And he motions for you to come closer and listen. As you move closer and you press your half-elven ears to the wall of the door next to you, this dark cherry-colored wood, you hear 2 voices arguing on the other side. You'll have to let me out eventually. You'll have to. We have an entire people to rule over. I will not let you out. I will not. I will not. The beast is out there. It could be anyone. It could be anything. It could be you. It could be me. I can't let you out. And the only way I know you're safe is in here with me. I don't want you to get hurt. I promise you it's out there. You're losing your mind. You're losing your mind. We have to help them. Our people are in danger. You've kept me in here for days now. Only to protect you. Only to protect you. Daedalus kind of, you see him roll his eyes. A lover's quarrel. How touching.
I'm quite jealous. That sounded quite sarcastic, Daedalus.
Daedalus looks at you. How about we just knock on the door and see if we could get them to open the door for us and get this over with?
Alastair shrugs his shoulders and knocks. Doop, doop, doop. Hello?
You hear a scream immediately from the side. And then a hushed voice. Shh! It's the beast! And then you hear the other one. Oh, silence. Fear not, my people. Your king has come. I will answer, King Korbos. My love, please do not do it. You hear the other voice shout at him. Silence. I will hear my people. He approaches. You see a latch slide open. You hear a step. Tap, tap. Like someone getting on a step stool. He peeks his large green eye out the porthole and inspects you. Oh, you're not a gnome. And neither is your friend there. What do you want?
Hello. My name is Alastair Darkheart. This is my friend Daedallus, and, well, we came here to warn you of something, but we heard you have a little bit of a mimic infestation.
Mimic infestation. Ah. It seems that you've already spoken to some of the people. Yes, we have a mimic problem. We also have a problem of my betrothed here will not let me leave. I want to help my people deal with this problem, but he believes even you could be the mimic. They are the mimics! A mimic! There could be two of them! There could be two of them! Get away from the door! You hear him come running up. Get away! Get away! If you see him like kind of hanging onto the door from the other side. If you could just kill the mimic and bring the proof of it back here, I'm sure my love will open the door and allow us to talk a little better. Get away from the door! And you hear like a yank. Daedalus kind of looks at you. Well.
Alastair raises his eyebrow as this is all going on, kind of processing this lover's quarrel that's happened. And Alastair's just gonna, like, rub his face for a moment, and he's going to speak up. Can you tell me where you last spotted the mimic? Maybe if I investigate the area, it could lead me to some clues on how I can locate the mimic for you, take care of it so I can inform you of this very dire news.
You hear the tussling on the other side of the door. The two gnomish kings fighting for, one trying to get to the door to answer questions, the other one trying to protect, quote-unquote, his love. And you hear the king shout back once again, Orin and Warren were kidnapped, devoured. They were kidnapped in the storage area on the eastern side. Get away from the door! What did I tell you? And you hear him, like, yanking again, pulling. Kill the beast! Yes, kill it!
Alastair's gonna pause and just stare at Daedalus like, what the fuck? And then he's gonna just start walking away. I guess we have to look for this storage area, Daedalus. Maybe we should ask the kind guard where that is. I don't know if I could put up with that much longer. I think I've changed my mind. I don't know if I could put up with something like that, Daedalus.
Yes, we should go find Tar Mip and see if he can take us to this storage location. I'll admit, that doesn't sound like a fun aspect of a lover's quarrel. But what do I know? You see, as you guys round this corner, you see Karmip standing there kind of looking over the area, and he hears our footsteps, turns around with the dagger real quick. Oh, it's you. I thought you were the mimic. Multiple footsteps made me think it was on all fours or something, coming after me like some sort of spider.
Nope, just us. So we spoke with your majesty, and he informed us that, well, There's a storage area where the events happened. Could you take us there? And we'll take care of your little problem.
Sure. Yeah, I'll totally take you to the scene of the crime where two of my close friends died. Yeah, I'd totally love to go over there. How thoughtful of you.
I can
to ask
tell
me.
that you're clearly not wanting to go over there, but trust me, we will provide you ample protection. I will make sure that you not get hurt.
Okay. This way.
And he takes us down a series of hallways. And along these hallways, we do see a lot of different, as we're taking the time now to kind of absorb this area as we're really getting in the thick of Gnomengarde. You see to your left and to your right on these thin, narrow halls, you see all sorts of clockwork contraptions. You can see these steamworks. You see pipes jutting into the mountainside. You see steam and pistons. You see the machinations of what these dwarves are, or not dwarves, excuse me, gnomes. How racist of me. God. Just because they're both short doesn't mean they're the same thing, Hunter. Anyways, you see these machinations of these gnomes. They're using the natural heat of the inside of this mountain, the underground. They're using whatever tectonic movements that generate pressure here to generate heat for their homes. They're intaking air from the outside to cool these homes. They have all sorts of, you can see these tubes that are running from one end of the tunnels to the other. It seems to be transporting messages or items from one end to one end. These gnomes are incredibly crafty, and you're seeing that these gnomes, although they are afraid of this mimic, they seem to be able to function while still not even having to leave their homes thanks to these messaging systems. And as we walk around, you see these little automaton-like figures that are kind of looking around, kind of inspecting the area. They walk around, and as you look at them, there are these sort of golden circles that have these sort of clockwork gears in their center and like a sort of equator line around them. And sitting at the top is a small jewel, and this jewel seems to rotate around, and it seems to be looking around at people, recognizing you and seeing if you're a threat or a foe. And it seems like these little gnomish machinations are doing their master's bidding. You see different variations of these things, but they seem to be going from one place to another. Some carrying some things, some carrying ore, some carrying trinkets, some carrying even gold. And as you walk around, Karmit points them out and starts to mention some purposes here and there, that one is delivering some ore to one of the smithies, and another one is taking a trinket that's been created by one of the fine craftsmen here, and it's going to be sent to one of the towns to be sold to earn income here. And as you guys eventually, after some conversation, make your way to the eastern side of the Gnomengarde caves, this burrow, you finally reach the storage area. What you see before you is a large, sort of, I wouldn't say large to us, large definitely to dwarves though, or not dwarves, I said dwarves again, oh my gosh, I need to be canceled for this is awful. I'm so sorry, gnomes, you're kind, whoever plays gnomes, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, I can't keep doing this to you. Anyways, as we approach this sort of short corridor, this short hallway, Karamip stops and sees in front of him to his right is the door to the storage area, and he looks up to it and he goes, "That's weird, I don't remember this being shut." He kind of turns and looks at us. That wasn't shut the last time I was here. I know that was early in the day, perhaps somebody's in there, but that door is supposed to remain open. That is the scene of the crime, and it was guarded. There were others here. Here's the keys, and he tosses them over to Daedallus, and Daedallus kind of fumbles them real quick in his hands, and he holds it for a second. By the 9. Aren't you a guard? Isn't this your job to investigate these things?
I don't want to die. I'm not suicidal. I mean, look at me. I'm a snack to that thing. Look at you. You're much larger. And look at him. He's larger too. The two of you look like you can handle yourselves. I'll back you up. You can open the door, and I'll stand here, on the other side of it, away from whatever might be on the other side.
Daedalus kind of holds the key in his hands and looks at you. Should we open the door?
1 second. Alastair's gonna pull out his obsidian rapier and poke the door very gently.
As you take the rapier and you reach out and you poke the door with it, you hear a solid thunk, and nothing. The door remains locked, and you gave it a good prod. Nothing happens. No movement, no anything.
See? It's not... The door isn't a mimic at least. Well, that's good. Good idea. Good thinking, Alastair. You are a smart fellow.
Catch on quick. Well, Daedalus, it seems like we're okay to unlock the door. Unless Alastair pulls out a dagger and stabs the doorknob and the lock, just to make sure they're also not the mimic.
As you turn and stab the doorknob and the lock, and you jab the knife within it, there's like a solid succeed, and you hear the lock break. And then you expect a shudder or some movement, nothing happens, but you turn the dagger clockwise a little bit, and the door uncinches and begins to creak open a little bit. You hear a sigh.
Well, somebody's gonna have to fix that. I didn't see it. I don't know who did it. I'll look the other way.
Karmit says. Daedalus kind of turns, how gracious of you, and tosses the key over his shoulder as he does not need it anymore. Good thinking, Alastair. Brute force, when applied, will always work.
You know what? I'm gonna write that down. That's a lesson within itself, Daedalus. Alastair's gonna enter the room and take a look and see what's up in here.
As you enter the room, Daedalus follows. And as you enter, you see a room full of crates, barrels. You see happenstance piles of soon-to-be sorted sacks of vegetables, baked goods, and other sorts of materials that would be necessary to constitute a good diet for these gnomes. You see rare gems and stones that are kind of laying in storage piles waiting to be sorted as well. And as you look around, you see nothing in particular of the sort. You do see signs of some barrels and crates having been busted and knocked over in a previous scuffle. And you don't see any blood, but you can tell from a very quick inspection of this dimly lit room that there indeed was a struggle at some point, and this was the scene of a crime. Daedalus is kind of peeking his head over your shoulders, looking around. He kind of leans forward and mentions, didn't he say there were guards here?
To be honest, they're probably dead by now, devoured by this mimic. It must be in here somewhere. It keeps finding food in the same location. A predator that can hide itself, it would probably stay hidden in one location the entire time, as the food supply is coming to them. So naturally, it's in here somewhere. And Alastair's gonna kind of look around. He's gonna investigate the room very closely and see if anything seems out of the ordinary.
As you walk around the room, you walking to the right side and Daedalus walking to the left, you're kind of circling opposite sides trying to investigate the area. You spot the signs of a torch that's lighting a small area just around this corner. You can see the dim lightings of this torch. And you're thinking to yourself, oh boy, this could be it. And as you get closer, you get to the crest of this sort of lit area, right where once you turn here, you're going to see whatever's going on. You hear chewing and munching, crunching. What do you do?
Alastair's gonna quickly shoot around the corner, rapier in hand, ready to fight.
As you shoot around the corner, rapier in hand, and you turn the corner, bounding it quickly. You point it at whatever's there. You see a gnome with a sandwich in his hand. He has it in his hand. He's munching currently. And he drops. His jaw opens. Wait. He drops his sandwich. It's me. I mean, who are you? Oh, God, you're the mimic. Oh, God.
No, I'm not the mimic. I'm looking for the mimic. I thought you were the mimic.
You hear footsteps bounding around the corner. Daedallus comes running around with his sickle. What's going on over here? The little gnome jumps and screams again. Oh, you're not the mimics. You're people. There's two of you. Okay. Announce yourselves before you go bounding around corners and attacking people. Don't you know there's a mimic here? In these halls?
We do. We're hunting it down and trying to kill it.
You're hunting it down? Wait. Who sent you?
Well, technically your king told us this is where all the incidents have happened, so we thought we would come check the storage closet and investigate, and then I happened to stumble upon you eating a sandwich, heard munching, could assume mimic eat gnome.
He nods in thought. Yes, except one thing. I'm not the mimic, and I'm alive. I appreciate your zealotry in your investigation, but I'm quite fine. I am a very competent guard. As you could see, I was merely on my lunch break and locked the door behind myself just to make sure the mimic didn't come back in here, or that it got out. Because I'm hungry. Now, if you don't mind, he stands up very pompously and confident of himself, and he goes and picks up his sandwich and its remains on the floor. I'm going to pick up the remains of my sandwich here, dust it up, and put it back together. He starts to walk around Daedallus. Excuse me, sir, and have my lunch. I say good. And as he says this, you see a purple tongue come whipping out and grab him by the waist, and you hear him scream. Before he can even finish his sentence, he gets pulled into this large barrel that's maw opens and starts crunching down on him. Daedalus screams out, "Time at tits!"
What the fuck? Alastair's gonna scream.
The beast kind of begins to lurch forward. You see this small arms protrude from the sides, smaller ones from the bottom. They grow long, spindly limbs as this barrel now spreads out on all fours like a dog, its tongue drooping out. It has 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 more even eyes that glow along the rim of the sides of this barrel. It looks around, salivating at its tongue. You can see the remains of the pompous gnome dripping from its gullet. What do you do, Alastair?
Immediately casting Armor of Agathis on myself, as you see Alastair places his hand on his chest and is surrounded by some very blue, ice-colored arcane armor.
As you do this, Daedalus kind of takes a step back, readies his sickle again. You see him take a stance. He looks at you. He looks back at the creature. You see Daedalus kind of starts to circle it. The mimic does the same and starts to move for a moment. I need you to roll me initiative.
Ooh. 19!
That's not who I'm adding to the initiative, LOL. That's Factor.
By the way, I can't see any portion of the map we're on right now. You might have to reveal all.
How do I do that?
If you go to Fog, and then go to the Reveal section, and then hit Reveal All, it should be there. Wunderbar.
Alright.
Is that big thing the mimic right there?
Yep.
Oh, fuck. That's a fucking big-ass mimic.
Alright. And then let me add Daedallus to the combat tracker as well.
One second, I'll be right back.
You're good.
I've returned.
Alright. So, Alastair, you are the first to make a move. You ready, Armor of Agathis? Cast it. And just in time before the mimic starts to make his move, is there anything else you wish to do?
Bonus action. Let's see if I got anything there. Going to cast Hexblade's Curse as you see Alastair point at the mimic with his free hand and whispers an infernal curse onto the creature.
As you do this, you see that same smoky mist that you once casted on Daedalus coalesce around the mimic's spindly arms and legs, eventually coalescing around its body.
Not gonna move. Alistair's gonna stay in his place, so that's his action, bonus action. That's it.
The mimic seems to pay no attention to the smoky coalescence around it. It whips out its tongue, this time at you, Alastair. It knows that it had a source, so it immediately goes for you. You're in front of it. Whips out its tongue at you. Let's see what it rolls. It's going to attempt to hit you with its tongue. Ooh! That is a 22. That definitely hits.
Yeah.
You're going to take a D8. You take 8 damage.
Okay. I'm going to use a reaction in this moment, as once the tongue whips against Alastair's flesh, causing it to bleed, he's going to stare at the creature, point his finger at it again. Die! And he's going to cast Stygian Rebuke.
Nice. The same icy blast that you've used before coalesces and shoots out from your hands, ice spikes shooting into the creature's body. Go ahead and roll me your damage.
9 points of
good.
cold damage.
Alright. After it whips out its tongue into your flesh, there's an audible from the impact into your body, but immediately you cast back at the creature. The ice shatters into the creature's flesh. And the mimic recoils at the impact, its body lurching back a little bit. It kind of repositions itself to get itself a little bit of distance between you and it. As this happens, Daedalus moves. Approaching the rear of the creature, Daedalus is going to take the sickle and he is going to take a cleaving strike at the back right hind leg of the mimic and trying to sever its limb from the creature's proper body. That is a 16. That hits. No, actually, it's an 18, excuse me. Either way, 18 hits. Let's see if he rolls enough damage, though. Oh! You see as Daedalus takes a cleaving strike at the right hind leg of this mimic. It's severed from about the halfway up its long thigh down. You see the mimic's body kind of falls at an angle. Its barrel body now dragging partially on the floor as this large stump of a leg starts spewing this purple ichor out from where Daedalus has severed its hind leg from its body. You hear Daedalus shout out, "Attack the limbs, Alastair! The limbs!" As he starts moving to the next one. It is now your turn.
So, I realized we forgot something. The Armor of Agathis stuff.
Yes.
Yes.
We can add that damage on.
It's going
Go
to
ahead
take
and just
5
add
cold
me-
damage, and Alastair
Okay.
only takes 3 damage because he had 5 temp HP.
Holy shit, you have 92 HP right now. That's
I
crazy.
do not. I have 17.
I saw that for a second, that was crazy. Alright, so, adding on to before, you also blast out an icy impact from your body. You have the same spikes that shot out from your Stygian rebuke. You have an even further and exponentially grown blast from your body that shoots out in all directions into the creature. You see these ice shards are embedded into not just the barrel of the body, but the limbs, and you can see the purple ichor leaking from these wounds. This ice is not melting in any way. It is stuck in this creature like glass. As Daedallus, once again, severing that hind right leg, it goes to your turn. He shouts out, "Attack the limbs, Alastair, the limbs!"
Okay. And Alastair's going to listen to Daedalus' advice and stab one of the limbs right at the joint with his rapier. 22.
Ooh, very nice. Roll me your damage.
Oh, dude, I was technically 1 away from a crit. Oh, no. Alright. He's going to take 7 points of piercing damage.
7 points of piercing damage. Alright. As you do this, you can see that sort of right front arm, leg, whatever you want to call it, appendage of this mimic. As you stab into the joint of it, you see the joint buckles in the opposite direction of which it's supposed to bend. You see it immediately buckle in, and you see the mimic's now dragging a whole side of its body on the ground. You hear it, and then immediately it shoots its tongue out in retort to this and tries to wrap you up and pull you into its maw. Roll me a dexterity saving throw.
Oh, I have disadvantage. I'm exhausted. Fun. Luckily, I rolled a natural 20 as one of my dice, so I rolled a 15.
15. As the tongue whips out at you again, this time in the same way, it's a little slower than it was before. All the damage that this mimic has already taken, you see this tongue whips out. You manage, just in time, you kind of lean your body to the left, and you watch the tongue whip out into the stones behind you, taking off a good 2-3 inch like chunk off of the stones, the stone wall behind you. Its tongue whips back into the body like a frog trying to grab a fly. It's now drooling on the ground. The mimic is in pain, but it's still very much trying to get a meal out of this. It is now going to end its turn, and is now Daedalus' turn. Daedalus is now going to attempt to attack the other hind leg of the creature. You see him now, after cleaving from right to left on that hind right leg, he's taking the momentum of the swing and then bringing the blade around and then up for a cleaving strike down on the thigh once more, trying to sever that left hind leg now. Oof! Daedalus misses. As the blade is being brought down, the mimic sees Daedalus with its many eyes. It has a lot more vision than you'd think. Getting behind it isn't going to provide you advantage. There really isn't a place where this mimic can't see you. And as Daedalus brings down the blade, you see the mimic's appendage just immediately whips to the side out of the way. Daedalus' sickle strikes into the ground. Damn you! And he brings the blade back up, trying to attack the creature, but it's already out of the way. Once more, it is back to you, Alastair.
And Alastair in this moment is going to see that the limbs are working, but it's kind of using its eyes to his advantage right now, and Alastair wants to try to get one of its eyes and stab it in there.
Alright.
15.
That hits. Roll me your damage, my brother.
Ooh, 11 points of piercing damage as he just thrusts his sun-touched rapier right into the eyes of the mimic.
You watch as you plunge this rapier into the side of the mimic's proper body, and the way you've positioned the blade, you manage to poke the eye and go through one into another, and as you pull the blade out, you can see on the edge of your rapier, you have a sort of little mimic shish kebab, mimic eye shish kebab on the end of your rapier. 3 little mimic eyes
Hell
that you've
yeah.
now ripped off from the creature. As this happens, the mimic recoils and you hear it cry out, man, as it immediately rips its maw wide open, and it is now, once again, it's going to, at this point, give reckless abandon, trying to get to you. It's going to leap away from Daedallus, using its 2 left side limbs and turning its body, just throwing itself at you. It's going to try to bite down on you and just try to swallow you whole. I need you to roll me, once again, a dexterity saving throw to move out of the way of this creature's maw.
Oh, fuck yeah. 15 again.
God tier saves tonight. As the creature launches itself at you, you immediately take a forward sort of somersault roll out of the way, and just in time, as the mimic's body crashes into the wall next to you, you watch it recoil. As it rolls back to the floor next to you, it starts to bring its body back up. You can tell this mimic's on its last legs, literally. Daedalus comes running up as the mimic is sort of just throwing itself with reckless abandon at both of you. Daedalus comes running up, and once again, he's going to bring the sickle up and down into the hind leg, trying to cleave it off with as much ferocity as his limbs can bring him. Oh, that hit, definitely. Let's see what damage we get here. Oh, it's a nice chunky 7 there. You watch as Daedalus comes running up. He takes 1, 2, 3, and then takes a leaping, bounding overhead slash with both hands down into the hind leg of the creature as he now severs the final back leg. Now the creature has 1 arm that it's pulling itself by, trying to get away from Daedalus, still trying to get to you. You see it. It's still salivating and still terribly hungry, trying to get to you. As it's crying out, trying to get to you. What do you do?
Gonna have to give it another stab as Alastair races his rapier into the sky, brings down his arm, rotating his wrist and wanting to pierce it from the top.
Roll your damage. Or roll your attack, excuse me. Your damage.
20 dirty.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
7 points of piercing damage.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Describe it. Describe it, my brother.
As Alastair lowers his arm, rotating his wrist at the same time, bringing all that momentum and energy, piercing the very barrel, busting it, a nice 2-inch hole into it with his rapier, the magic of his that he used on his curse, assisting him in this moment, and he pulls it out as the creature thrashes upon death.
Nice. He watches the creature throttles a little bit as it has its sort of muscle spasm reaction to you piercing its vital organs. The mimic goes slump dead. Daedalus stands nearby. You see him wipe the sweat from his brow. Oh. Well done, Darkheart. You can add a mimic to the list of things you've killed now.
Little easier than I thought it would be, Daedalus. Do you think there's more than one?
Daedalus looks at you. Don't jinx it. Daedalus kind of walks up to the mimic and kicks it with his right leg. The mimic just kind of budges at the kick. It's dead. Well, we need to take proof of its death back to the kings. He looks at your blade. Perhaps those will do. And he points at the shish kebab of mimic eyes that you have there on the end of your rapier.
You're right, I think that's proof enough.
you see, as you're kind of just standing there in silence for a second, you go to turn towards the door, and as you turn towards the door, you see a small head peeked around the corner. Two eyes. It's Karamip. You see him.
Did you kill it?
It is dead, Karamip. It is safe to come out.
His whole body, slumped in relaxation, comes walking forward.
Oh, thank the gods. It's over. It's over. Say, did you happen to see, Factor in there? He was the one on guard duty.
Unfortunately...
Nope, not at all. We didn't see a single thing. Right, Alastair?
What he said.
Daedallus looks at him.
Oh, okay, well, I guess he must have blocked out early and went home or something.
You could say that, Daedallus says. A slight smile on his face.
Alastair's not smiling. He's like, kind of like feeling bad.
What do you want to tell him? You can tell him. The guy was an asshole.
Was an asshole, but it was his friend.
All right, tell him.
Karamip, I have something to tell you. Your friend, we think the mimic ate him. Actually, I'm confident the mimic ate him. I mean, do you see this blood? Alastair points at the blood that's clearly on the walls from the mimic devouring him. That's not the mimic's blood. That's not my blood. That's not Daedalus's blood.
Oh, Factor's dead?
Yeah.
Oh, that guy was an asshole.
He turns around and starts walking away.
Well, I felt bad for nothing. God damn it. Daedalus, you know what? We could have just kept it to ourselves. Well, myself. Fuck.
Daedalus kind of snickers. It's fine, Alastair. Your moral principles are valued. It is a good thing. I was engaging, as the kids call, some tomfoolery. You see him, quote unquote, for a moment. Tomfoolery, is that what they call it? Yanking his chain. I'm bad at this stuff, Alastair. Let's just keep walking.
Alastair chuckles a bit as he continues walking, as we're going to head back to the room where the king is.
Yes. As you return, you see word has already reached the kings as the door lies open. And as the two of you enter, you see two small thrones. One clad with blue satin sort of bannerments and decorations along it, and the other with like a crimson sort of velvet look to it. And as you and Daedalus approach, you have the blade with the mimic's eyes out. The two kings sitting there holding hands. They seem quite at peace at this time. The kings look at each other and look at you, and the more deepened voice one, you can see his face more properly now with the deep green eyes. He has a sort of chestnut-colored medium-length hair and a beard. He looks at you. Ah, well done. We've already heard word through our machinations that the mimic is dead. Well done.
Yes, well done, well done. I told you there was a mimic.
And you see him kind of look at his betrothed. He rolls his eyes.
Alastair's just going to nod awkwardly as they're kind of still having their little debacle between each other. Yep, we killed the mimic.
Now, what brings you here?
Then there's some news I had for you that is coming directly from Phendelin. A dragon has come from... I'm not sure, but a dragon has come and been roaming all across the Storm Coast recently. A white dragon, as a matter of fact. And we had heard your people had not been advised that such a thing has come. And, well, you should ready your people. And honestly, I was thinking of something. Maybe perhaps you could help us help you, and also help Phandalin in a way. Are you currently giving supplies to Phandalin or anything that can help. I've noticed your machinations as we've entered here. You all are quite the crafty fellows.
You see their eyes have widened at the mention of the dragon.
A dragon?
The sort of crazed one's right eye starts to twitch.
A dragon?
His short blonde hair is already matted and frizzled. He starts running his hands through it.
First a mimic and now a dragon. What are we going to do? What are we going to do? What are we going to do?
He looks at his betrothed and the other king. Calm down, calm down. News of a dragon had not come to us, that is true. But you've done good bringing this news to us and dealing with this mimic for us. We have not engaged in trade with the town of Phandalin in recent weeks, thanks to a certain hold-up in the king's chambers. We've had some differences in trade talks in the past, but a dragon will put to rest all qualms with that. Tell the Maester that the people of Gnomengarde are ready to aid them in whatever way we can. We will begin sending them supplies once again. But in return, we ask that they send us fresh food, as in the last 10 days we have not had any fresh food delivered, or received, rather. Now, as for a way to help you fight this dragon, I believe there's an arrangement we can come to. He sort of raises an eyebrow. There is a particular weapon that we know of, the location of. We meant to go and dig this thing up ourselves, but, well, since we owe you so much, we will give you the location of this weapon. Long ago, there was a green dragon that roamed these parts, and a hero faced this dragon in combat, wielding a great sword known as the Dragon Slayer. This hero was able to defeat the dragon in combat, but the hero fell as well, their sword being buried with them in the dragon. The Dragon's Barrow is the name of this location. He unfurls a scroll that he has positioned next to him, and he's in some map that you can see before you. Here, and he points on the map where he has a marking for the Dragon's Barrow. Take this. And he motions for us to take it. Daedallus steps forward for you and takes the scroll and begins observing it where the Dragon's Barrow is marked. In addition to the location of the Dragon Slayer, you may have this from my personal armory. You see him hop down from the throne to a small chest about 10 feet to his left. The chestnut-colored haired dwarf. I literally keep wanting to call them dwarfs. Why? They're gnomes, Hunter. They're gnomes. It's already the end of the episode and you're calling them gnomes. Please, I beg of you, call them gnomes. Alright. The chestnut-colored haired gnome opens the chest and you see him pull out a sort of menagerie of things, trinkets. In particular, he pulls out two things. He pulls out a sort of spherical object with a pin attached to the end of it. It's a golden-looking liquid inside, sealed within a sort of brass copper bottle with a glass that holds that golden liquid within. He says, "Be careful," and he walks it over, and he hands it to you, Alastair. And here's this. And he reaches out, and if you just give me one moment, I can pull it up because I just didn't have the the note for this one pulled up, this one item. I just gotta pull it up real quick. You'll have to be patient with me. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine.
Ah, here we are. And the other, you can see he has a wand of some form. You can see this wand that he holds out. You see at the end of it a sort of small, sort of orangish colored gem. And this small orangish colored gem on the end of this small tan colored wand. It's very fine and very smooth edged. He reaches out and he says, "Do be careful with this as well." He also hands this to you, Alastair, as Daedallus is too busy looking at the map. This is a wand of fireball. This wand carries only 2 castings, as I have used all the other charges, but what remains is yours. And here, for your troubles, he hands you another small sack of gold, and inside is a pouch of 40 gold pieces.
Nice. Alastair's gonna split that with Daedallus.
Daedalus just holds his the map in his hands and sort of notices that you're divvying up the gold. And, "Oh, thank you, Alastair," and sort of grabs his half and deposits it into his coin purse. Looks at the map. "The Dragon Barrow lies closer to the coastline. Some way from here, but we can make it. That weapon is going to be useful."
My liege, do you know if this Dragon's Barrow is a dangerous place? Are we going to need potentially some additional help besides us two? I'm not sure if you're familiar, but I figured I'd ask.
Well, we have not begun surveying the site ourselves, but there have been sightings of orcs in the Storm Coast as of recent. You hear Daedalus kind of under his breath scoff, "Yeah, tell me about it." "Ah, you've run into them, I see. The orcs could be there, but I do not know of any hazards. I just know that the barrow itself is some ways away and will require some travel. But if you can get this sword, it was made to slay dragons. It will be the best weapon you can get against this white dragon."
Alastair nods, turns to Daedalus. Sounds like something worthy of being wielded by a knight.
Daedalus smirks and nods. "Perhaps. We will have to go and make sure this is not a myth. Make sure this is a real thing. And then see if we have a knight in our presence that can wield it. But let us go. We need to go tell the Maester that the gnomes are ready to begin trade again, and they are willing to help us fight the dragon by whatever means. My liege." My liege turns to the other one and gives them both a courteous bow. "We will hopefully meet again, and if not, you will receive word from the town as to how we can be of mutual aid to one another in this crisis. Thank you both for the help. Fandalin is in your debt. Are you ready, Alastair?"
Alastair nods as he bows to the 2 kings, my lieges. "Take care."
They both nod and return the bow. "Such well-mannered fellows, aren't they, actually? For slaying mimics, I thought they would be a little bit more savage." And you hear the other king kind of chuckle. "Well, the one looked like a noble, and they mentioned a knight. Perhaps the other was a knight. They seem trustworthy." They gave off a good aura. Trustworthy fellows, perhaps. Good luck to you. As the two of us leave the area, looking back, you can see the people of Gnomengarde are actually beginning to move around and leave their dens. You hear some people, as we're walking down the hallways, even make comments. The mimics, they're gone. The mimic is gone. You hear some laughter and giggling as children and people are now beginning to leave their home and actually socialize, and Gnomengarde is becoming a living, bustling city again. And as we take one final look back and we see the stream leaving the cave of the Gnomengarde burrow, Daedallus looks at you. Well, it's time we get back to Vindalin. We go find Aelin and speak with him as well, I think.
That was on my mind, too. He was there. It would be good to get some information on this white dragon from him. Let's go.
Information on the white dragon. Yes, that will be good. Perhaps he can give us insight as to the dragon's intentions. But let us go. And for that, ladies and gentlemen, that is the end of tonight's episode of Thrones. I do want to thank you guys for listening. We have made a lot of progress and have already grown so much as a podcast and a channel. We've seen a lot of growth, small beginnings, small steps, but we're very appreciative and very thankful for you for being here. We want to take some time to thank both of our patrons, Melanie Droz and Melanie Cocciolone. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. We love you both. And if you are interested in becoming a patron, please check out our Patreon, check out our socials. Feel free to engage with us in any way, because we have lots of great content coming to the Patreon, including some one-shots that you won't see here on the regular channel. You'll have to go to the Patreon to get those. And there'll be exclusive commentaries on episodes and some interviews with members of the cast once we have some more members joining with us shortly, because that is coming. So once again, thank you all so much for listening, and that is it for tonight's session. Have a great night.